Genesis chapter 17, the message. When Abram was 99 years old, God showed up and said to him, I am the strong God. Live entirely before me. Live to the hilt. I'll make a covenant between us, and I'll give you a huge family. Overwhelmed, Abram fell flat on his face. Then God said to him, This is my covenant with you. You'll be the father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram, but Abraham, meaning that I'm making you the father of many nations. I'll make you a father of fathers. I'll make nations from you. Kings will issue from you. I'm establishing my covenant between me and you, a covenant that includes your descendants, a covenant that goes on and on and on, a covenant that commits me to be your God and the God of all descendants. And I'm giving you and your descendants this land where you're now just camping, this whole country of Canaan to own forever, and I'll be their God. And God continued to and God continued to Abraham, and you will honor my covenant, you and your descendants, generation after generation. This is a covenant that you are to honor, the covenant that pulls in all your descendants. Circumcise every male. Circumcise by cutting off the foreskin of the penis. It will be a sign of the covenant between us. Every male baby will be circumcised when he is 8 days old, generation after generation. This includes horse-born slaves. This includes house-born slaves and slaves bought from outside who are not blood kin. Make sure you circumcise both your own children and anyone brought in from the outside. That way, my covenant will be cut into your body, a permanent mark of my permanent covenant. A circumcised male, one who has not had the foreskin of his penis cut off, will be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. God continued to speak to Abraham and Sarai, his wife. Don't call her Sarai any longer. Call her Sarah. I'll bless her. Yes, I'll give her a son. Oh, how I'll bless her. Nations will come from her. Kings of nations will come from her. Abraham fell flat on his face, and then he laughed, thinking, Can 100-year-old man father a son? And can Sarah, at 90 years, have a baby? Recovering, Abraham said unto God, Oh, keep Ishmael alive, and well before you. But God said, That's not what I mean. Your wife, Sarah, will have a baby, a son. Name him Isaac. Laughter. I'll establish my covenant with him and his descendants, a covenant that lasts forever. And Ishmael? Yes, I heard your prayer for him. I'll also bless him. I'll make sure he has plenty of children, a huge family. He'll father 12 princes. I'll make him a great nation. But I'll establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will give you about this time next year. God finished speaking with Abraham and left. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael and all his servants, whether houseborn or purchased, every male in his household, and circumcised them, cutting off their foreskins that very day, just as God had told him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised. His son Ishmael was 13 years old when he was circumcised. Abraham and Ishmael were circumcised in the same day together with all the servants of his household, those born there and those purchased from outsiders. All were circumcised with him. So I kind of have a clearer understanding of circumcision. There's still so many questions I have about it. But it's obviously a sign to do with the covenant. And if it isn't done, then you don't get the blessings. You're kind of cut off from all that. Good to know. But they also get new names. Abram becomes Abraham. Sarah becomes Sarah. And Abraham means, I'm making you the father of many nations. I'm just going to go off into Google for a second because I just want to know. Abram meaning what? What does Abram mean? Exalted father, as opposed to Abraham. Father of many nations or father of multitudes. So his name, Father Abraham, had many sons. It's his name. His name is Father. Father of many nations. Father of many sons. Which is very cool. Because I didn't know that when I was singing it as a kid. I didn't understand that that's what that... It's just funny when it comes back. Like, it's in retrospect, in hindsight, looking back. It's put into our heads. It kind of reminds me of a verse in the Bible. I'm trying to figure out where it is. I'm Googling it really fast. Proverbs 22, verse 6. And I'm just going to go into the first one I can find, which is I don't know what it is, the New King James Version. It says, Proverbs 22, verse 6, train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. I feel like that's what my family kind of did, especially my grandma. She just kind of instilled God into my life from, birth. He was just always a part of my life, He always was, even when I didn't understand, even when I was singing, Father Abraham, I didn't understand it, I was just doing it because it was just something that we did. We took the Shabbat out, and every Shabbat we had our activities as kids that we did, and it was just part of life. It was just part of things. But when I became an adult, and I did have my moment where I strayed from God, I just went into the world, and I didn't know that was what I was doing at the time. But I was. Now that I can comprehend. That's what I was doing. I was straying from God, and I didn't stray very far. He made sure that I came right back. He was even there when I strayed. The stories I could tell you. My goodness. But it's just true, you train your child up in God. Even if they do, go out into the world for whatever reason, even if it's unconsciously, like me. God's not going to let them go. You're going to have to come back to him. That child's going to have to come back to God. And probably in a much deeper relationship than they had in the beginning, as a kid. They'd be able to appreciate him a lot more because of the struggles and the experiences. I can't tell you, he's amazing. And for those of you guys who don't have a relationship with him, don't know him, don't even think he's real. It's an understatement for me to say that you're missing out. He's absolutely beautiful. And even that's an understatement. There's just no words. That's why everybody uses all these different names and words to describe him, because there's just really no way to really truly describe how magnificent he is. Everything about him. Not just that he's God and he has all this power. His character. My goodness, his character is absolutely... it's gorgeous. His forgiving nature here stands out to me as well in chapter 17 of Genesis. Abraham and Sarah are just messing up. They're human. And they're messing up in their marriage, everything, creating other children that should even be involved in this. It has nothing to do with this covenant. God's making it really, really simple here. He's forgiving them, having grace. And he's really answering them right now. Like, this is it. I'm telling you guys of what's going on. I'm telling you guys what the promises are. Again. And this time we're going to make a real true covenant. It's not just, I'm not just stating it, even though that can't come back void. That must be fulfilled, what I said earlier. Now it's a straight up marriage, a straight up promise. And you've got to come through on your end. He wants you to act right with your whole heart, even if you fall. But if you're in it with your whole heart, you won't be falling that hard like they have been. And he's even giving them guarantees that it's coming in the next year. This blessing that you've been waiting for, like more than a decade for, since I promised you, it's coming. It's more than a decade. It's more than 20 years, I think, at this point, because it was 10 years since he'd waited, and then they made Ishmael, and now Ishmael's 13. So it's like 23 years since the original statement that God made about them having this lineage. It's been 23 years since then. Abraham is nearly 100 years old. Sarah's like 90. It just doesn't look possible. How old people can have kids. Abraham's laughing, even though he's fallen on his face and he's grateful to God. He's laughing because this whole thing looks crazy by human standards. It looks nuts. Can you imagine that? Just being old and never having children, and God has promised you. Somehow you got the memo in a dream or something God has given you that that he said it is going to be, but it's like, well, how can that really be though, when I'm like, I don't know by their standard, but by our standard, I don't know, you could just be 50 plus, 60 plus, and you haven't had children, and you and your husband are super old and you're supposed to be having a child. By a doctor's standard, by human standard, by the world standard, that's insane. But this is God's standard. This is God's word. So it's real. It's true. It doesn't even matter that it doesn't look right, or that it just seems by the world standard that it's not. It's true. He said it. Doesn't matter how impossible it looks. God does impossible things. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. These are verses in this book. God often seems to do these impossible things. He also uses the people that you don't think should be used for projects or monumental moments in this book. He'll use the people that you just, the least expected one, He'll take that one. Even if they were evil. He could change it all around, a complete 180. God can do anything. And I think the sooner that we really start to grasp that nothing is impossible for him, the more at ease we'd be, in these moments where it just seems like it can't be, or it can't happen, or maybe I need to help him out. God don't need your help. All he said that you need to do is stay in and abiding in him, in his ways. That's what he wants you to do. Because in reality, you doing that, it's protecting you. It's not really doing anything for him per se. I mean, he's getting a relationship with you, sure, but these rules and ways and him telling you to walk the narrow path or quote unquote be perfect, he's saying those things for you to protect yourself, for you to be protected in him, to not make the worst decisions, on your own because you didn't wait on him or believe in him. All these laws, like even the 10 Commandments and all the stuff that comes up, the ways to abide in God, they're not to take away your fun. It really is to protect you, help you lead a decent life, as blameless as you can be. And the more blameless you be in these situations, the better off you are. Because there is an accountability for people who purposefully do things that aren't good, purposefully take matters into their own hands and live without God. There's accountability. There's a harvest for that type of activity. You should know. It doesn't go, untouched. And that goes for people who follow God or don't. Once you start doing stuff without him, it's a gamble, a real true gamble. And usually it's not a good gamble. You're probably not going to win. It may even seem like you're going to in the beginning, but you don't. So I'm saying all this stuff to say, just walk with God. He gives us so many chances. And now that the whole thing with Jesus, it's different here with these guys. He's given them more grace and mercy. But after Jesus, it was like, done deal. We're able to be forgiven a lot more easily, whether we're chosen or not, you know? Anyway, I'm rambling, and I think it's just time that I let this go. This chapter 17 of the message, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what's going on. Is the last chapter was a disaster, but this one, God's redeeming them. He's sticking to his word because he can't lie. He won't lie. He said this in chapter 12 that he's going to give Abram this great lineage that will be everlasting with God, that are set apart. That must be fulfilled now. Even if Abraham and Sarah get in his way or try to put matters in their own hands, he's still got to fulfill what has been said. And now he's made an official covenant, which just cements it even more. I think for their sake, really. Because they were just impatient and weren't able to wait. But I get it. That's 23 years, a long time to be waiting on a promise from God, who can do anything whenever he wants. That's a lot. And it's not really for us to understand why he took that long. There's so much going on in the spiritual world that we don't know. And I've found myself under many circumstances about matters of my life of why he's taking so long in it, or if this is how it's always going to be, and being tempted to take matters into my hands. Even at some points I did, and it was a disaster, just like this book, just like chapter 16, just like chapter 13. And I had to go backtrack what I did, let God fix it, because it was a disaster. He had to fix it because I took the matter into my own hand and it made a big mess. And at this point, I'm exhausted with all that. So, as much as I would be tempted to take a matter into my own hands, even now, I am not going to, because I know it's just going to result in more trouble than I want to deal with at this point in my life. I'm just exhausted with all that. So, anyway, I pray this reading is something stuck out to it about what was going on here, these activities. Things are looking up for these two once again, and I'm hoping that good things for them. Further on, we're going to read chapter 18 tomorrow, and just really appreciate you guys tuning in, watching this video, and just reading along with me. I pray that you have a really blessed day, and please feel free to comment anything that stuck out or stood out or resonated with you about this chapter. I would love to hear it. So that's it. Until next time, I love you, and I pray many blessings over you guys, always. And God bless you, and I love you. Bye.